Now people say, oh, so God is just this selfish brat who does whatever he needs and we have to suffer?
And I just started crying, very profound, deep crying. And I heard a voice, and the voice said, don't.
Reincarnation is that part of the soul that did not complete its mission. So when you're talking to your mother who has passed away, could be that some part of her soul is reincarnated and standing right next to you and laughing. But you're talking to the part that stayed in heaven, the completed part.
It was really hard for me to understand. I think for a long time, like, why am I even here? Because I was conceived from a rape.
She tried a third birth control and failed. And she said, I don't know what's going on here. I have all these unwanted children. I said to her, are you kidding? Your children are the most wanted, and there was nothing you could do to stop it. So this is how you raise children, by the way. The most important part of raising children is weaning them away from their... So the best definition of the human being is a human being is a...
What if everything you've been taught about God, relationships, life in general has been wrong? Is there possibly another way? And does the wisdom of Judaism, Hasidut, have anything that we can apply to our daily lives? Whether we're Jewish, whether we're not, how can we get closer to Hashem? So I am Caleb. This is my wife, Yocheved, and today we are interviewing Rabbi Manis Friedman. Yocheved, you have the first question for Rabbi.
Okay, I have to say, it is literally an honor to have you. When I was seeking and searching, like, for more answers, and I think one of the biggest things that I know that a lot of people in my community, especially women that have gone through trauma, that have had similar stories to me, struggle with the idea of like purpose, especially when you come from such darkness. And for me personally, like, it was really hard for me to understand. I think for a long time, like, why am I even here? Because I was conceived from a rape. And so I know that there's a lot of people that struggle with, okay, why am I here? Especially when you've been conceived through something so complicated as that. Rabbi, how could you help us kind of navigate that?
Struggling with purpose. Wanting to find purpose, looking for purpose is not a struggle. That's life. Not knowing your purpose, not even believing that there is a purpose, that's a problem. Anxiety, almost all of it, comes from not being sure. So uncertainty and anxiety are almost synonyms. Doubts destroy life. You know, people are always saving face by saying, I doubt, as if that's some kind of sign of intelligence. Oh, I doubt that. Wow, you're smart. No, you're not. You're insecure. You're anxiety ridden. You're probably popping pills. We don't need doubts. Either I know or I don't know. So if you ask me whether there's life on Mars, and I say I doubt it, I'm lying. I don't doubt it. I have no idea whatsoever. And of that, I am very sure. There's no doubt. There's no doubt that I don't know. So why do I say I doubt it? Are we too proud to say I don't know? So doubting really does drain life of all of its joy. Because when you're uncertain, it's horrible. So people go off to college and they're told, doubt everything that's sophisticated, that's a sign of intelligence. And it is so not. It's like one guy went off the campus with a T-shirt that said on the front, it said, "Doubt all authority." Another student walked up to him, read the T-shirt, and said, "Says who? Who is this authority who says doubt all authorities?" It's horrible. Really is horrible. But for some reason or somehow, the modern thinking is if you're sure, you're dogmatic, you're opinionated, you're not a reasonable human being. Why? Because you're sure. On the other hand, anyone who speaks with confidence gets all the respect. Because if you're sure, people say, oh, wow, he really knows. So we're very confused about this whole thing. Seeking the purpose of life is life. That's healthy, it's good, it's moral, it's noble, it's perfect. Now, sometimes a person seeks for the purpose of life because life has been so painful. But if life weren't painful, you'd be asking the same questions because they're good questions. Why am I here? Why was I born? Why was the world created? They're such fundamental questions. They should teach this in kindergarten. In your case, and by the way, have you written about this? Have you spoken about this? Have you?
Yeah, so I my YouTube channel, I have a whole YouTube channel where I help women out with like trauma. I struggled for many years. Like I have a whole story behind it. I've been through a lot. But I think for me, I was like it there was a feeling of worthlessness, of like there's no purpose. And it wasn't logical, Rabbi. It was like something that I felt deep within, that I knew that I needed to figure out how to resolve what I was feeling.
And how did you?
Well, my mentor, which is a rabbi, he helped me by connecting with my inner self. And so he helped me by connecting with myself and my intrinsic value. So we did a lot of work on that.
Can you say that in English?
Yeah. So he was teaching me about the three dimensions of self. So he said, you have your mind, which is your neshama, you have ruach, which is your emotions, and nefesh, which is your body. And so he told me that basically when I'm able to go into my inner self and connect with my worth that is aligned with Hashem, then I'm able to find my sense of self. Not the emotional pain that I went through, not the trauma, not the abuse, but really who I am like 5 seconds before conception.
There was there was a woman who really didn't want to have children, so she tried birth control. Failed. She got pregnant. She tried a different birth control. Failed. She got pregnant. She tried a third birth control and failed. And she said, I don't know what's going on here. I have all these unwanted children. I said to her, are you kidding? Your children are the most wanted, and there was nothing you could do to stop it. Well, maybe you didn't want them, but they were obviously very wanted,
Exactly.
and nothing was going to stop them from being born. I mean, this is like unbelievable.
And that's what my mentor told me. He said, you are going to come to this earth no matter what. It's the channel that you came through. And yeah.
True, true. The whole Jewish people started with Yitzchak, but his mother couldn't have children. Now, why did it have to start that way? Because his birth had to be special. out of the ordinary, out of the box. Not just another kid being born to another woman because she forgot her pills. So it had to come despite all odds, because now you know this is something special. Yeah. Okay, so how do we find our purpose in life? People get very, very frustrated because they don't know where to look. They wouldn't know if they found it and tripped over it. They wouldn't know it's their purpose in life. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, how do you know you found it?
That was going to be my next question, by the way.
And then if you think you did find it, how do you know that's it? Because you like it? Okay, so let's examine for a minute what exactly is purpose of life? What do we even mean by that? You find something you love in life and you pursue it. Is that the purpose of life? Maybe not. You find that you're really gifted and talented in some area. Is that your purpose in life? Well, maybe not. You have other talents too. What do we even mean by purpose of life? And here's where we get really confused. People say, "What is my purpose?" I'll never find it because I'm looking for my purpose, but I don't have a purpose. So how do I find my purpose when I don't have one? And if I did have one, why would I be looking for it? It's confusing. My purpose means the purpose that God had for my existence. It's not my purpose, it's His purpose for me. A person says, I don't believe in God, I just want to find my purpose. you, you're lost. If you weren't created for a purpose, then you don't have a purpose. So, well, I'll make one up. You can't make one up because very logically, the purpose has to exist before you do. If it's the purpose for which you exist, then the purpose had to exist before you do. So, who had a purpose for my existence? My mother? My father? I asked them. They said they've been wondering about the same thing.
Where'd you come from? Why are you here?
Why are we here? We don't know either. The reason we almost naturally, instinctively go looking for a reason for life is only because we were created for a reason, so it's in our DNA. We are reasoned creations, and somehow we sense it, we know it, and we have to identify it. Just like no one would ever be homesick if there was never a home. So you can't need a purpose if there never was a purpose. So the best definition of the human being is a human being is a purposeful creation and therefore needs to know his purpose. Now, the definition of purpose, which is really cute. How do you know this is the purpose and not just something you like, something you're good at, a nice way to spend the day? How do you know it's the purpose? The definition of purpose is that which does not need a purpose.
In English?
Because if the purpose needs a purpose, then the purpose for the purpose is the real purpose. And you just keep on running like on a treadmill. Purpose means this is it. Yeah, but for what? No, 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 not for what. For this. Yeah, this is great, but what is it for? No, this is where the buck stops. This is the purpose. I married you because you have to be in my life. For what? You didn't hear me. You have to be in my life. For what? For you to be in my life. Yeah, but for what? There is no for what. You are the for what. You are not a means to an end. When you say this is the purpose, it means it is the end, not a means to another end. And we're so undereducated in this area. God says keep kosher. For what? It's healthy, it's blah, blah, blah. When God says keep kosher, it's because he wants kosher. For what? For kosher. No mitzvah is a means to an end because God is not a means to an end. Why do you believe in God? Well, that is so that I go to heaven. So God is just a means to an end. You're using God to get to heaven, then heaven is your God. Right? Heaven is more important than God. I'm just using God as a stepping stone to get to heaven. But when I say God is my purpose, serving God is my purpose. Yeah, for what? Everything we're familiar with has a purpose. I need a house for a purpose. I need a car for a purpose. I need money for everything I buy has a purpose. Do we ever get to the end where we've reached the purpose? The final buck stops here purpose? We're not even expecting it. So even when we get there, we're frustrated. Okay, so what? Oh, good. Life is terrific now. Now what? Well, now life is terrific. Yeah, but what for? You're driving yourself crazy. Back in the 70s, cults were very, very popular. And who are the people who are most likely to join a cult? Rich Jewish kids. So all of a sudden, India was full of Jewish kids meditating, following a guru, practicing Buddhism. Now, what is the goal of Buddhism? To reach a state of nirvana where you are in bliss. Well, guess who was best at it? Jewish kids. So the Jewish kids rose to the head of the class, attained levels of meditation and of nirvana and bliss. And when they got there, they were so excited, they went to the guru and they said, I'm so happy. I am so blissful. What should we do now? And the guru said, no, that's not how it works. You get to bliss and you're blissful.
That's it.
And that's it. And all the Jews said, yeah, it feels really good. What should we do? The gurus told them to go home. You're ruining Buddhism. So, what is our goal? Do we ever reach a goal? Every mitzvah is in itself the end and not a means to an end. Does the mitzvah have benefits and side effects and perks? Yes, but that's not what it's for. The mitzvah is not to get you to heaven. Do you get to heaven? Yeah. So what? That's not the point. So here's the real point. Today's anxiety level is it's literally dangerous. We've reached levels of anxiety where we're just not going to survive. And what's causing all this anxiety? Life has never been so comfortable, so secure. We've never lived this long. We've never had all these options and opportunities, and we're so anxious. It's because we don't know anything for sure, including why we're here in the first place. Religion never starts at the beginning. Why are we here? Religion can't answer the question. You were born in sin, fix it. So why was I born? You're in trouble and you got to fix it. How did I get into trouble? It's not, just like the theory of evolution cannot tell you why it started, but it did start. There was a big bang. Why? Don't ask questions, okay? We don't know. No one knows why, except Judaism. And Jews convince themselves that they don't know either. To get to heaven? No, not to get to heaven. To lead a congregation? To become a Talmud Chacham? Must be a reason, a purpose. No, it is the purpose. So, if you want to help people make life livable, they have to be not only aware of God, but serving God. So here is really maybe a bit futuristic and probably not going to happen this week, but it's inevitable. We are going to come to the insight, to the awareness, to the conclusion. Human beings don't need anything. Stop looking for your deep, suppressed, unexpressed needs. You don't have any. You get so hung up on what am I suppressing? What am I suffering from? What need am I not satisfying? That you'll even make up a need. It's like that joke about guy goes to a psychiatrist and the psychiatrist examines him and talks to him and analyzes him and finally says, okay, your problem is you're jealous of your brother. The guy says, I don't have a brother. The psychiatrist says, look, if you're not going to cooperate, I can't help you. You have to have a brother and you're jealous of him. That's the conclusion. Don't bother me with the facts. We don't have any needs whatsoever. Why? Because we don't need to be born. No human being needs to be born. Now, if I don't need to be born, I certainly don't need a job. And if I don't need a job, I certainly don't need a car. Right? So everything I refer to as my need, not true. I need to eat. Well, only to live, and I don't need to live. I mean, I got nothing against it. I don't mind living, but I don't need it. Sometimes I quite enjoy it. I still don't need it. So if I don't need to live, then I don't need anything. Now, this is developing right under our noses. The threat of death is not what it used to be. Did you notice? People are not that afraid of dying. I mean, when they're not being threatened. Taking drugs is really dangerous. It could kill you. Yeah. And I'm talking about prescription drugs. You hear the commercials?
Oh, yeah.
Take this medicine for your postnasal drip. It might make you blind. You might have a stroke. You might have a heart attack, and you might die. So get it now. What are you waiting for? It's so crazy. Telling people, behave yourself or you'll go to hell. It doesn't work anymore. No threat works anymore. Even the world's going to blow itself up and there'll be nothing left. All right. Not my problem. Something has happened. Something has shifted in the human psyche. Death is no longer a reason. No. Yeah. Death is no longer a good reason to live. Well, you got to live. Why? Well, because if you don't live, you'll be dead. Yeah. Understood. Live. You have to live because if you don't live, then you're not alive. It's double talk. So here's the point. If you're looking for the purpose of life, it's not life. When you say purpose of life, you mean life better have a purpose. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm doing here. So you can't say the purpose of life is not to die. So one of these days, and it's not too far off in the future, a person comes to a psychiatrist and says, I don't know what to do. I can't get what I need. My mother never loved me. I was never hugged. I need hugs. The psychiatrist will say, you don't need anything. Go home. Again, why don't we need anything? Because we don't need to be born. And even young children are saying it spontaneously. I have to clean up my room. I didn't even ask to be born. And it's such a good argument. I didn't ask to be born because I don't need to be born. But somebody went ahead and gave birth to me. And now I have to go to college and get a job and pay the mortgage? No, no, that's not fair. That's not right at all. Whoever caused me to exist owes me.
Rabbi, that was one of the questions that I actually had. How does the soul come into the world? Now, Hashem creates the person and they come in, or does someone actually have the free will to say, I'm going to go down to earth and I'm going to take on this challenge?
The soul is told that it's going to come down, and the soul says, please, no.
Mhm.
Why would I want to do that?
Yeah.
No soul really wants to come to Him. But when God says, I need you to do this, some souls are willing, some souls are thrilled because God wants it, and some souls are resentful. I said no, and you forced me to be born? Well, I'm not cooperating. And you see this in children. They will not cooperate with life. I don't want this. I'm here. I'm protesting. I'm here under duress. I'm not going to, whatever you ask me to do, I will not do it. And there is no trauma that explains it other than being born. So here's what's happened that makes us all crazy. Somehow over time it became the default position of most human beings that God is perfect. He's the judge of the world. He sits there on his bench and judges everybody, but he doesn't need anything. He's God. We, on the other hand, have a whole set of needs. Maslow has no idea how many needs we have. He thinks he can limit it to a handful. Mm-mm. Now, how in the world does it make sense that the creator of the whole universe needs nothing? I created nothing, but I have a list of needs. I must have this and I must have that and I must go here and I must go there. It is so upside down. It is depressing to think that I have needs, and it's blasphemous to say that God doesn't. He created the whole world for no need. It's a chilul Hashem. Once we realize that, everything begins to make sense. Like, for example, why is God interfering in my life? Not allowed to do this, not allowed to do that. You can't marry her, you can't marry him. Get out of my life. What is the answer? You don't have a life. And you don't need anything, even if you are alive. So it makes perfect sense. God creates you and tells you what he created you for. It'd be cruel if he didn't. Now people say, oh, so God is just this selfish brat who does whatever he needs and we have to suffer? See, this is where we have to get a little romantic. Judaism without romance is Christianity. It literally is. God created you with a purpose, meaning he needs you. That's selfish. He created the world for a purpose, and the purpose is to have a relationship with you. That's selfish. If you're materialistic, yes, you can think that. Like a man proposes to a woman and says, please marry me. Oh, yeah? For what? For what? You have no romance in your soul. You have no soul at all. What do you mean, for what? For your money. Very ridiculous. Marry me because I want you in my life. For what? For you. Especially when you're talking about God. He already has everything else. What could he possibly want by creating a world? The only thing he doesn't have is you. So he tells you in the Torah how the two of you can connect so that he will have you. If that's not romantic, I don't know what is.
Now, Rabbi, I feel like you kind of like hit a really good point with the whole anxiety, because I think maybe we're overthinking the purpose. We're always trying to like reach somewhere, you know? Okay, I need my purpose. I need God. What who is God? A relationship with God. And we're looking for so much meaning, but we're always looking for the next thing, you know? And so how how can we connect with Hashem according to Torah?
Okay. So I think even all those students, or whoever they are, who march in the streets for Palestine, they're so verblunget, you know, they're so clueless because they're chanting from the river to the sea, and they have no idea which river, they have no idea which sea. So why? Why are they devoting hours of their time, energy, even maybe expenses? Because they're looking for a purpose. And they'll latch on to anything that sounds like a noble cause, whether it is or it isn't, doesn't matter. When I first came to Minnesota as a shliach, right? So I was working with the students, and they told me that they organized a protest for Soviet Jewry. Remember back then, Soviet Jewry? It's a Minnesota winter, and they're standing outdoors asking students to sign a petition that the Russian Jews should be allowed to leave Russia. There were two uh, Jewish prisoners, or maybe four. It was four Jewish prisoners that were being held. They were the refuseniks, and they were arrested, and the petition was to let them free. I was not used to the Minnesota winters, and we're standing out there, and no one wants to sign the petition because they won't take their mittens off. It was just simple like that. I'd love to, but it's too cold. And we're standing there for over an hour asking people to sign the petitions. And I guess I couldn't take it anymore. I said, okay, I got to go. I get into the car. I turn on the heat. I turn on the radio. The four prisoners had been released the day before. The day before. When I saw them the next day, I said, what in the world? They said, it doesn't matter. What do you mean it doesn't matter? We expressed ourselves.
Yeah.
There were prisoners, there weren't prisoners, but we expressed ourselves. We feel very noble. We'll settle for anything as long as it feels like a purpose.
You know, there's a high that I've experienced in my own life, which is So, I've gone through lots of different things. Like, what I believed was like a full blown atheist at the time, then Buddhism, Hinduism, transcendental meditation, Silva method, this, that, anything you could probably name one. And I'm like, yeah, I've probably tried that. Um, and I was just like kind of meditating on this, thinking about this the other day. And I was like, it is just curious that no matter who I look at, whether it's an atheist or it's a Buddhist or it's a Christian, any person that it's like every single human being needs something to believe in, whether it's true or not. And so it was funny because I've gone through these moments where of just like this existential crisis where I'm like, no, like I cannot believe the Tanakh, I cannot believe Bible. There's no way. But then, like, for some reason, I'll delve into another project or another path for a while. And it's like, I feel good for a few weeks, maybe a few months. And then I'm like, well, this is complete baloney. And so now I need to go to the next thing, right? And it's just that continual high of and like for me personally, like I go deep, right? Like I go deep and I go deep fast. And so like I'm in it and I'm deep as far as I can. And then all of a sudden it's just like, what happened? And you just feel worse and worse and more confused. And so like I feel like I've literally collected just thousands of hours of all sorts of world beliefs, and it's just like a weird, like a high of jumping from one thing. So I resonate really strongly with what you're saying with like people, and you become the thing, right? Like you're so it's you, it's your even if you're an atheist. I mean, an atheist is so religious when you look at it, like they are the definition of religious. And if they didn't, it's funny, if they didn't have that belief system, I don't know what they would be, depressed, way more anxious. It's like sometimes like I look at it's funny because I look at atheists and I'm like, how is he not depressed out of his mind? Like to be a true atheist and really live it out and push it to its furthest and be honest about it, you should be pretty depressed because there really is no meaning. But they found meaning in just the fact that I'm an atheist and I'm studious and I study, and that's like that becomes the identity. I don't know if that if that
Yes, 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 yes.
so yeah, there's no question. It's just a reflection based off of what you're saying. So what is that? What is this need to have something, whether it's actually based in truth or not? What is that need that we have inside of us?
Well, you've proven that we will not settle for something that is not true. It only works for a while. But if it's not true, we will be frustrated again. So I think the better way to say it is, it's not that we're just looking for a purpose. The human being by nature is never content being human. For a human being to be a human being is, is not satisfying because for some reason we feel a desperate need to become something that we were not born with, to acquire or to achieve something that we were not given at birth. So you're born human, you live human, and you die human. Not good. Not good. Does not justify. The animal loves being an animal, sometimes surprisingly. The sloth loves being it. Can you imagine? Cow really likes being a cow. They never think of becoming something else. The vegetable loves being a vegetable. It's so happy, it gives off a beautiful smell and beautiful colors, is just bursting with pleasure at being a plant. The mineral, I mean, the rare mineral has absolutely no complaints. But the human being, the smartest of all species, can't figure out why he's here. But that's because it's not just that we're looking for a purpose, we desperately need to become something that we weren't born with. Now, either you become it or you don't. You can't lie about it. You can't do it in virtual reality. So you can convince yourself you found a purpose in life. But if that purpose in life doesn't make you something more than human, it's going to disappoint you. So now this is a scary thought. I need to be something more than human. Well, what in the world is that? So you become an Olympic athlete. If you can be the fastest runner, the highest jumper, the strongest thrower, then somehow you're more than human. You're not even more than an animal because the animals can run faster, jump higher. But look at the dedication. Oh, these athletes, the gymnasts who start training at 2 years old and end up with crippled legs and broken bones. And what a devotion. And then in the end, it's like they all go to drink, right? All retired athletes, they all get drunk.
Yeah.
So, what can we do to be more than human? That's an essential part of our existential angst. I can't just be means I can't just be human. I got to be something more. So religion is of no help whatsoever. For the very simple reason the only time and the only way that you can become more is if you die. No deal. You're not answering the question. And I'm not becoming more than human. I'm dying. Oh, yeah, but then you'll become an angel. That's a step down. Humans are greater than angels, and we're not content to be human. So what's left? What's left is become a partner with God in creation. Don't just be a creation. Become a little piece of creator. It's the only way. The only thing greater than the human being is God. So if you're going to be something more than human, serve God. So again, it's if you put it in psychological language, I don't need to fulfill my needs. I need to be needed. Just tell me what I'm needed for, and I am indestructible. Viktor Frankl almost says that. If you have a purpose and meaning, you can survive holocausts. Without that, you can't survive a paper cut.
Could we? I think we'll kind of transition into some questions we have about the family and marriages, because
because it follows logically.
Yeah. And so, we also, we help people, we talk about this sort of stuff. Um, and I told you, we have 5 children, and wow, like, I feel like we're kids. I know we're not, but we and it's like we have 5 kids. Like, what happened? Right? And both of us, we were conceived actually similarly. Mine was through an adulterous relationship. So we both came from situations of surprise, like, you're not really supposed to be here, nobody really wants you, like, what's happening? And so, we're balancing a ton of our own individual struggles. Then when we met each other, struggles that we had together, and then trying to work on ourselves and raise kids. And a lot of the people that follow us, for whatever reason, probably because they resonate a lot with with us, and we attract those types of people. A lot of the people that we help, I mean, we hear their stories and we're like, oh, okay, so we grew up just wonderfully. Like, it was, what a great upbringing we had, right? Compared to some of the stories we hear.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but people are really having a hard time managing their internal conflicts, and then the two pillars, the husband and wife, and then, oh my god, on top of that, throw some kids in there. Like, how? Like, how? There's not enough time in a day to deal with my own anxiety. How am I going to help my husband, my wife, and help 3 4 kids? Because not only are they dealing with things, they're dealing with things at school, my husband's dealing with things at work. It's like, my god, like, is it possible? Where do we begin? What's the most important thing for a healthy household? What are some keys that you could potentially give people to start to manage what seems like a very overwhelming endeavor?
Yeah. The modern day answer, cutting edge. If you think your life is for you, don't get married, don't have children, don't bother people. Go live your life for yourself, by yourself. Don't inflict yourself on others if you're living for yourself. Because then you're just using others and you find everybody else as a threat to your, I don't know, individuality or whatever. So everyone is a threat. The only friend you're going to have are the ones you can use for your benefit. It's a horrible picture. If you think your life is for you, then go live on an island and don't bother anybody. How can you be there for someone else when deep down inside you are convinced that your life is for you? Doesn't work. So, this default position, it's my life. I gotta be me. It's a good song, but it's not true. I did it my way. Well, good. Go off on your own way and do whatever you do, but stay away from me. The alternative is my life is not for me. In fact, nothing I have is meant for me. And today it's a little easier to understand. There are people worth billions of dollars, billions. Can they, in their wildest imagination, really believe that it's all for them? It is theirs. According to Torah, it is theirs. You steal a nickel from Elon Musk, you are sinning because it's his nickel. Yeah, but he's worth $200 billion, but it's his nickel. On the other hand, if he thinks that the $200 billion are for him, he's crazy. It is so obvious that it's not for you because there's no way you could spend that. Even if you're buying Mars, you'll still have, you'll still have a lot of change left over. So it can't be that it's for you. And that's why these very rich people can't wait to give it away because it's obviously not for them. Same thing is true with information. You're smart, you have information, you know things. What is that meant for you? No, it's meant for you to teach and share. You have love. Is that meant for you to love yourself? That's severely demented. And again, the best proof is you have a really good communication skill. You're very articulate and you can express yourself very well. So you talk to yourself. Obviously, that's nuts. Don't talk to yourself. Don't love yourself. Don't keep the information for yourself. And don't keep $200 billion under your mattress. Live. Live means it's not for me. It's mine. It's my life. But it was never meant for me. So why do you have children? Because you were given life so that you can give life, not keep it. You get married because it is not good to be alone. It's comfortable. It's convenient. Leave me alone and I'll be fine. But there's nothing good about being alone. It's not a life. Being alone is a great existence. It's not a life. So if we come to the marriage, if we come to child raising with the awareness, whatever I have was never meant for me. All of a sudden, I have others to give it to. Now I'm alive. Until you're married, you can be very generous and you can be a big philanthropist and you can be, but it's not the same. To your family, everything you have is being given. The philanthropist is just giving his money. The teacher is just giving his information. But in marriage, everything. Your patience, your ability to communicate, your kindness, your discipline, your devotion, everything you have is being put to good use.
One of the I'll kind of transition a bit. One of the big topics that cause a lot of fear in people is, okay, I'm here. When I die, then what? Right? Like I I had an experience that I never really was able to put my finger on because um I was, part of a religion during that time when it happened that told me that it was wrong. And so I'll tell you. So um, back then, I didn't really necessarily believe in God. I was just kind of just doing my thing, but I was really into meditation. And one of the meditations was to focus on the emotion of love. I was like, okay, cool. I love meditating. I'll do that. So I get into the meditation and I'm like, oh, I don't know what that feels like. Like I legitimately said to I don't know what that means. Focus on love. And I started thinking about my mother, and my mother had died when I was 11 years old. I was probably about 20 at this point. And I just started crying, like crying, very profound, deep crying. And I heard a voice, and the voice said, "Don't cry. I've been with you. I've been here with you this whole time." And I was like, "Whoa." Like I was convinced this was my mother. The religion that I was part of at that time, they were like, "No, that was a demon." Right? And so literally, I just remember having that experience, and then I was like, "Oh, okay. I could have sworn it was my mother, but it was more like a demon." Um, so, but the question really does become like, what actually happens to a person, to their soul, when they depart their physical being? What happens?
In some way, very little. You remain the same. You're still you. You're still related to those you're related to. You have all the memories you had before you passed away. You have all the characteristics you had before you passed away. The only thing that's gone is greed because you don't need anymore. That's all. It's not a pleasant or easy transition from me, greed, 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 and all of a sudden, nothing. It's a little shocking. But you make the transition, takes around maximum of 12 months, and then you're a soul. Souls don't feel pain. Souls don't feel competition. But the process is a shameful one. If you have to get used to being a soul because you don't remember how a soul functions, it's embarrassing. It's like being in a synagogue and you can't read Hebrew. It's a little embarrassing. So you learn the Hebrew. How long will it take? And then once you learn the Hebrew and you're not holding the siddur upside down, the shame is over, right? So when we say that the soul continues to live, it's not like other religions where your soul becomes an angel and you all look alike and just flutter around with your wings. No, you remain you. We were sitting at Shiva, and this guy made a joke about his father who had passed away. It's a good joke. But then he thought, oh, maybe that's not appropriate. So he turns to me and he says, is that okay? I said, depends. Did your father have a sense of humor? If he had a sense of humor, he is laughing. If he didn't have a sense of humor, you're on your own. You're in trouble. Your father is still your father. And I think like all the women in heaven, what do they talk about? What do you think they talk about? What?
Their children.
Of course.
Mhm.
Oh, really? That's the okay. Great. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, look what he's doing there. That's my kid. What would think they're talking Kabbalah?
So, but is there a point when they, so like in my situation, is that even possible? Like that many years later, or does not do souls not come back into a physical being at some point, or is that,
Reincarnation,
yeah?
not the whole soul. There's a part of every soul when they pass away. There's a part of the soul that has completed its mission and it stays in heaven. Reincarnation is that part of the soul that did not complete its mission.
Okay.
So when you're talking to your mother who has passed away, could be that some part of her soul is reincarnated and standing right next to you and laughing, but you're talking to the part that stayed in heaven, the completed part.
The motherly part. That's interesting. Yeah.
And that part wants to come back into the body. You see, we're really impossible creatures. When we're human, we want to be something different. When we're dead, we want to come back alive. You know,
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
so this is how you raise children, by the way. The most important part of raising children is weaning them away from their needs. I mean, when you think about it, that's exactly what we do. We're not focused, we're not consciously doing it, but we're always doing it. You wean the child away from his needs, or the child will become a narcissist. And there's way too much of that going on today. Narcissism is a pandemic. So imagine you say to a child, it's bedtime, off to bed. Child says, no, I don't want to.
As you say that, I have a child knocking at my door.
Yeah.
All right. So you say, it's bedtime. The child says, I don't want to. You say, but it's bedtime. What does but mean? It means I know you don't want to, but you should go because it's bedtime, which means not everything depends on whether you want it or not. That is so healthy. That's so important. I don't want it. Yeah, but see that? That's so powerful. And we stop doing it when we become adults. Once we become an adult, what I want is what I want. There's no but. Torah basically says, I know what you want, but check to see if God wants it. So, what does that do for you? It weans you away from your wants because you don't need it. Right? A child's eating habits are very, very important because the way he eats is the way he's going to have sex. If he eats greedy, he's going to be greedy when it comes to intimacy. If he's a glutton for food, he'll be a glutton for sex. If he's too picky with his food, the ketchup is touching the potato, I can't eat it. Oh, his spouse is going to be, or her spouse is going to be miserable. So literally, I mean, I don't have to say it out loud, but everything you tell a child about eating is going to affect how they behave in the bedroom. Hey, how come he has two pieces and I only have one? This guy's a philanderer. It's really it's not an exaggeration. So A child is taught to be respectful of the food, don't be too picky, don't be greedy, don't eat too fast. And an interesting thing, don't talk with your mouth full. How does that impact your sexuality?
Well, it's not all about you.
When you're being intimate, there is nothing else. You can't be partly intimate and partly distracted. So if we're gonna go deep on this one, how do you raise your children? By conceiving them properly. The way we conceive our children has a great impact on how the child's life is going to go. So, for example, a man is being intimate with his wife because he's in the mood, but he doesn't particularly like her. Just that moment, right? They have a good marriage, but right now he's angry at her. And he thinks she's a little disgusting. But he wants to have sex, so now she gets pregnant. And the child is a boy. And he gets to be a little older, and you say, "So do you have a girlfriend?" He says, "Women are disgusting." He doesn't know why he's saying that, but he was born or conceived that way. Something even more dangerous. Husband and wife are being intimate, and they are literally praying, "Please don't get pregnant." But they do get pregnant. This baby grows up saying, "Yeah, I love you too. You want, you didn't even want me." Another form of that is, can you imagine being intimate and thinking, if there's a pregnancy, we can always end it? Now, how does your child feel about you? You were planning to kill me, and I should love you? Not only that, you were planning to kill me, so obviously my life is not that important, so I'll kill myself.
Wow, wow, wow. I
This
actually,
is
oh,
literally true. Yeah.
I was going to say, I actually know someone personally that the mom got pregnant, tried to abort. It didn't happen. Baby was born. Now the person struggles with suicide and depression.
Now, it doesn't mean you can't cure it. I mean, there's nothing you can't cure. Maybe some things we haven't found the cure for, but we'll find it. So nothing is that far gone that it can't be healed. But why give a child a problem that's going to have to heal from? So making babies is a serious business. It's not the plumbing that you're taught in school in sex education class.
What could someone do to begin to rectify that area? Because I would say there's majority of the people that we help.
We're
You
not
know, they're
conceived
yeah,
under the
they're
best of circumstances.
yeah. I was probably 95% of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we know that they are struggling with some deep stuff that they can't even put their finger on what
Yeah.
it is.
What's interesting in homeopathy, in homeopathic medical philosophy, if a child is brought to a homeopath, the first question he has to ask is, how was this kid conceived? because it's significant, highly significant. And that's why the Torah says you have to be purposeful in your intimacy. Give your kid a break. Don't be reckless. So there was a great rabbi who said, they asked him, how well do you know your son? They were talking about insight into people's personalities, right? So they said, how well do you know your son? He says, I know with which thoughts I invited him into this world.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Now that's called family planning.
Literally.
Planned Parenthood.
Yes. Isn't it, I mean, isn't it ironic to say Planned Parenthood means you're not going to have a baby?
What?
Doesn't make sense.
The complete opposite. Wow.
Wow.
So Planned Parenthood means you're a parent because you planned it, you chose your thoughts, you welcomed the child into this world. The child feels welcomed, wanted, needed. Needed, more important than loved.
So that actually, I would say, a secondary problem is a lot of the people that come to us have children, whether they're young, some of them teens, some of them older in their 20s, drug addicts, alcoholics, don't want anything to do with them, all the things you can imagine, trouble in school, all this. So really people are having these crises of, hey, my life's in shambles, but I've also severely hurt. So a lot of people come to us and it really is like, I'm trying to fix this relationship with my child because I know that I had something to do with this.
So the,
And
ch-
it's,
so the
yeah,
child is literally saving their lives.
that's a
Because of the child, they're going to get their life together.
It's a great point. Yeah.
They wouldn't do it for themselves, but they can't do this to the child. The child is saving their life, which is beautiful. So here's what people need to know. And not only people who are severely hurt or severely damaged. Everyone needs to know this. Everything that has occurred in your life until this very moment was meant to be. There is no way it could have been different. The expression, if I knew then what I know now, my life would be different. Blasphemy. No, it
You know,
wouldn't.
I was before a judge one time because I stole a pair of shoes when I was a teenager. And the judge asked me, if you could do it again, would you? And I said, if I wouldn't have got caught, I would do it again. And I remember my dad was so upset with me. He was so angry. And I see why. That was not the right answer, but it was a truthful answer. It's just, yeah, yeah. Anyways, that you just made me think about that moment because it's like, yeah, I would have done it. But thankfully, I guess I was caught so that I won't do things like that again. And I never did anything like that.
Also, the expression, if I were you, I would not do that.
Yeah.
Wrong. Wrong. If you were me, you would do that. Because, no. So the point is, there is no carryover. What you did and what happened to you was meant to be. God is asking, what are you going to do now? Because now you have a fork in the road. You can go to the right, you can go to the left. But everything that happened until now, that was my plan. Now, what's your move? So let's sum it up. I just spent a weekend with 50 couples talking about raising their children, and every single question was, my child has this bad behavior, my child doesn't co-op, and it's all remedial. And eventually I said, people, are you not raising your children? Is your whole life and your whole family about damage control? Why aren't you busy raising your kids instead of correcting them? Raise them. Maybe they won't get into trouble so often. So live life. Stop worrying about every exception and every pain and every failure. You're not busy living life. So, of course, your life is miserable. And religion, by the way, is a big part of the problem.
I 100% agree. I think we didn't touch a lot on the questions, but just I think people are living with confusion about God, perception about God, who God is, and obviously like a fear of like going to hell. And then if you think about serving God from that perspective of fear, that if you don't serve him, he might send you to hell. So there's a lot of complications that people have going on in their mind.
Yeah, well, people are not, they're not even questioning, will I go to hell? It's, I'm gonna go to hell.
Yeah.
Like they like some
Which
people
is,
know that I'm destined for hell. Like,
which is
Yeah.
true. Which is true. Hell means the embarrassment of the adjustment of going back to being a soul without a body. Who doesn't have to make that adjustment? Children. Children don't have to make that adjustment because they never really got hooked on their bodies. They were only there for a couple of years. So they shed their bodies very naturally and just go back to being souls. But adults are a little more set in their ways and they don't let go of the body so easily. So it's embarrassing. But if you want to go from crisis to crisis, from problem to problem, whether it's with your own life or your children, well, good luck. Don't complain that life is miserable. You're looking for the misery because you want to fix it. Instead, start living. And living means do for God what God needs. Stop trying to get what you need because you don't really need it. You're frustrating yourself. I spoke in a church in Puerto Rico. And I thought I have to say something that is not within Christianity. Otherwise, I'm not bringing anything new. But then again, how open are they to non-Christian messages? So there were about 400 people in the room. And basically, I introduced it, I led up to it, but finally I said, can you please get off your knees and stop using God and start serving him? And they all said, yeah. It was no pushback, no argument, no, oh no, we're born in sin, we have to be saved. Stop using God. Stop taking. Start serving him. Well, what can I do for him? Make his creation what he wants it to be. Well, let's finish with this. This guy is a gardener. He has a passion for it. the beauty, he's a real gardener, you know. He lives for it. And he sees this neglected piece of land and he can't stand it. So he just goes and cleans it up and makes it beautiful. All of a sudden, some guy walks over and gives him a check. He says, "What is this?" The man says, "That piece of land you just made so beautiful, it's my land. I owe you. If you make this world a little more beautiful, whose world are you fixing? If you make life on earth a little more livable, who owes you? The Creator. So if you go to work every day and you complain it's the most boring, tedious, meaningless activity, you work on an assembly line, same thing over and over every day, and you just, are you producing toothbrushes? You're serving God. You invented the electric toothbrush? You got a seat in heaven right in the front. Oh, the only guy ahead of you is the guy who the guy who invented the bread slicing machine.
Yeah.
Sliced bread? Go to the head of the class. So it's not a tedious, meaningless job. You spend most of your day serving God. You're almost a saint. Serve God. Stop using God. Religion has corrupted even God.
Yeah.
So I met this pastor, very nice guy, but very, very to the point. He didn't mess around. We met. I said hello. He said, "Have you accepted the Savior?"
Wow.
And he wasn't being. I said, "Actually, I'm not looking for a God who's going to save me. I want to serve Him." This man who has been a pastor for almost 40 years got all choked up, got all teary eyed, and he said, "I never thought of that. Does God exist to serve me?"
Yeah.
Let's get real.
Yeah.
I don't need because I didn't create the world. I have no needs because I don't need to be alive. But He who created the world with His vast eternal plan, His needs are real. And it turns out that what He needs the most is me, to be by His side. So He gives us all these commandments that tell us how we can stay by His side. Now look at how meaningful and precise the Torah is. God says, "I created the world in 6 days and I rest on Shabbos. Therefore, I command you to rest on Shabbos." Therefore, I don't see the connection there. You created the world, you rested. Well, good for you. What do you want from me? I haven't created anything yet. It's so obvious. God is saying, "I create during the 6 days, I rest on Shabbos." So create during the 6 days and rest with me on Shabbos. Stay by my side. So, what is the commandment of Shabbos? It's telling you what God is doing so you can join Him. So God eats matzah on Pesach. So He wants you to eat matzah with Him. Whatever matzah is in the spiritual. God says, I hate pork. Hate it with me. Can you stay by my side? Can we be on the same page? So, what does he really want? Me. But he doesn't want me against him. He wants me in step with him. That's a good marriage. To be married, you have to be convinced that your life is not for you, because you're going to share your life. And if you think it's for you, sharing is unacceptable unless you're getting something really important in return, which makes the marriage a business. It's a little futuristic. I don't know if people are ready to say, I don't really need to eat. God created me with a handicap. This is not my idea. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I need it like a hole in the head. So why do I eat? Because I have no choice. God wants me to eat. Now, if I say I need to eat, I'm playing God. I have a God complex. Eating is my need. Sleeping is my need. Love is my need. Pleasure is my need. Security is my need. No, it's not. God created people with a need for food. Don't claim it as your need. Why are you stealing God's need and claiming it? It's not nice. It's plagiarism.
Right.
It's like people who say, I don't need God to tell me the 10 Commandments. Oh, you can write your own 10 Commandments? Come on. Attribute the need to its original author. If you designed yourself, you would never need to eat. Why would you do that to yourself? So when you say I need to eat, you mean I am designed that way. It's like a car saying I need gas.
Yeah.
You need nothing. You're a car. Just do a car thing. Don't suddenly have an opinion. You know, a kid said to his teacher overseas, he said to his teacher, I need to call my mother. Which phone can I use? And the teacher said, You need? He said, I need to call my mother. The teacher said, You need? So the boy said, Well, actually, my mother needs me to call. So which phone can I use? And the teacher said, That's better. Can you stop lying? Your mother needs you to call, but you can't tell the truth. You have to say, I need to call. You're a teenage boy in an adventure. You don't need to call your mother. Why do you lie like that? And of course, they're lying to themselves too. They don't realize. But when you say, I need to call my mother, plagiarism. It's your mother's need, not yours. Be straight. I don't need to eat. I don't even want to eat most of the time, but I can't help it. Who did this to me? God. So if I stop lying, I will be eating because God wants me to. How holy is that?
Pretty obedient.
Yes, serving him. If I stopped lying, I would say God wants me to be intimate with my wife. I mean, I don't mind. But I don't have to lie and say it's my need. It's my pleasure, not my need. We can actually be truly godly creatures. Just stop lying. It's I mean it's happening. It's literally happening. Every 10-year-old says, I didn't ask to be born. Now what are you going to say? What are you going to say? Well, too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll say, well, we can't. We asked for you to be born, so like, sorry, I guess. I don't know.
This comedian says, I'm not getting along with my teenager. We got troubles, troubles, troubles. Just the other day, he said to me, so why did you have me? So I said, actually, we didn't know it was going to be you.
Right.
we, were, we were hoping for a kid with a job.
Yeah. Oh
It's
man,
so true.
that's funny.
Gosh.
One quick reflection based, that when you were talking about the Torah and that being a way of us reflecting who Hashem is, what He does, it really got me thinking through just like a father and son relationship, or a child, right? And just like it's so obvious. Like I'm going to teach my son how to operate in this world. I'm going to teach my son the things that'll allow us to have a strong relationship. I'm going to teach him all these things. It's just very simple. Like when I think about it that way.
It's exactly right. But look at what we actually end up doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to give my child a life that he's going to want to live. But he has no idea what my life is because I go off to the office in the morning where he is not allowed to come. He has no idea what I'm doing. And then I'm disappointed that he's not following in my footsteps. You didn't leave any footsteps. You erased all the evidence of where you go, what you do, when you come. See, in the olden days, that wasn't the case. The farmer took his 4-year-old out with him on the tractor. But now our careers take us away from our kids and away from our family. So you're not really modeling a lifestyle for your child. And the child grows up or is supposed to grow up and get a life. What is that? He has no role model. Well, do whatever your father did in the office that you never saw.
Mm.
Right. And it just repeats and it just
Yeah.
keeps going like that.
So they don't want to grow up. They don't want to grow up. In a traditional family, kids can't wait to grow up. Every little girl wants to be a mommy, and every little boy wants to be a tati. First a mommy, then a tati.
Right.
Because they see a life worth living, so they run to keep up with their parents. But if you don't know what your father's life is all about, then a basketball player becomes your hero, and you don't want to live his life because you're 5'2".
Yeah.
Rabbi, could you just share maybe at least one tip that you gave those 50 families that you were saying that you were just helping out those parents? And I think one, like that one key that you said, raise your children. You're not raising them.
Yeah. Don't just practice damage control. The only time you interact with your children is when they do something wrong. Well, that's not raising. You can discipline your children when they misbehave. Excuse me. When they refuse to do what they're supposed to. It's not good. They're going to hate you. But you can also discipline a child when he does do what he's supposed to. Just not quite right. They'll love you for it. It's a much healthier form of discipline because every child has to be disciplined. I mean, that's. But if you always discipline negative behavior, then they're getting negative attention. If you discipline good behavior, it's discipline, but it's positive. So, for example, you tell your child to put his books away, and he says no, or he doesn't, or he ignores you. You can discipline him for being a bad boy, or you can let it go. You tell a child to put his books away, so he puts 2 books away and leaves 2 books lying, right? Or he puts it on the shelf, but not in its place, not standing up. You can say, that's not the way you do it. Put it away properly. Or in Jewish life, you say to the child, make a bracha on the cookie. The child says no, let it go. The child makes a bracha, but skips 2 words, or mumbles, or puts the cookie in his mouth first. So he did make the bracha. And you say, come on, that's not how you make a bracha. Take the cookie out of your mouth and do it right. They're going to love you. So don't be a policeman. Be a sergeant in boot camp. You polish the boots, and he says, you call that polished. Do it 10 times more and get it really shiny. You appreciate your sergeant sooner or later.
Right.
But the policeman catches you doing a crime. No one likes a policeman. Unless you catch somebody else doing a crime, then I like you.
Yeah. Catch the other kids, exactly.
Right. Hey, arrest him.
Yeah.
So we we parent as needed. That's not parenting.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a good kid. I don't have to raise him. Now, come on. The other thing is, if you're going to criticize, wait a day. If kid does something you don't like today, don't mention it until tomorrow. It's so simple and it is so powerful. Because if you mention it when he does it, he goes defensive. You catch a kid doing something wrong, he's immediately on the defensive. He's not listening. So it doesn't matter what you say. He hasn't heard it. And then you're going to, how many times do I have to tell you? And he says, you never told me. You say, I've told you 1,000 times. He never heard it. Because you talk to him when he doesn't listen. Who are you talking to? Wait until tomorrow. When he's in a good mood and he's not expecting the attack, and you surprise him. Say, you know what you did yesterday? He is so bowled over. He is so amazed. You've been thinking about that since yesterday? He's listening. You got his attention. I keep saying his, but Works for girls too.
It's usually the boys.
It's so powerful because there's an inherent compliment. You've been thinking about something I did or said since yesterday? Only a father or mother would do that. A stranger would never do that. The stranger will discipline me when I'm annoying him, but he's never wait until tomorrow to tell me. So delayed criticism simply means criticize when you have an audience. When you have no audience, don't perform. It's not rocket science. It's much more brilliant.
Okay. Rabbi,
So much.
say that again.
Thank you so much for
Oh, thank you.
making the world a better place.
We appreciate you. We have been watching you for many years, and yeah, we appreciate you so much. There was so much value here, and we're really excited to be able to share this with our, a lot of our community is actually like our main YouTube channels are in Spanish. So this is a project that I've begun in English, and I've already had some interviews, and so this is a really awesome way for us to launch,
Where
this
did you